Hi everyone, welcome back for another Python tutorial. And today I want to show you how you can build a dashboard like this one right here. And even though this project is about building a dashboard to track a portfolio, you don't need to use it to track a portfolio. You can actually adapt this template and use it for your own projects with your own charts. You just have to fit them in this template. So I'm going to use Dash and Plotly to build the dashboard. And as you can see, there's a bunch of elements here that I'm going to go through, and I'm going to show you how you can build them. I've set everything up on a dedicated folder that you have on GitHub. And as you can see, you have all folders you need here, along with the notebook that you can use to follow along this video. You have the notebook here on this folder, and you also have some inputs that we're going to use, the transactions. We're going to need some transactions from our own portfolio to build this project. And you also have some outputs that you're going to get throughout the code, some price history and some data frames with some price history for your own stocks. And also, if you want more details about this project, you can also check the article, the Medium article that I wrote about this project. But simply put, I'm going to create a multi-page dashboard that will keep track of our global position in one tab, in one page. And on the other page, I want to go deeper on each stock and kind of have a visual reference for where were my entries, what's my average price, what's my average cost. So that's going to be an interesting project. And this is the first part. So we're going to build this first part right here on this video. And please let me know in the comments if you have any suggestions. I'll try to incorporate your feedback as we build this together. I've also included some timestamps to make it easier for you to jump between parts. Some of them might be trickier if you never used Plotly and Dash, so that might be helpful. If you like the video and you want to help me grow the channel, maybe post more videos, please leave a like, a comment, subscribe. It helps a lot. Yeah, thanks for watching, and let's start coding. Okay, so first thing you want to have is your repository, your folder, and you want to leave the files as they are, and you want to use this Jupyter notebook right here. So that's what I'm going to do. And in the first part, obviously you need the packages, you need all the libraries. There's nothing fancy here. Pip install should be really easy. You also have these simple functions right here. And we're going to start by importing the transactions dataset. The transactions dataset is in this folder right here. The Excel file is this one right here, and as you can see, it's very simple. It has the typical columns that you get when you extract from your broker: date, type, ticker, quantity, price, the fees, and the transaction value. But over here on the right side, these columns that you see, they come from a Python script that I use to kind of enhance my transactions data set. And what it does is actually help me to build a cumulative view for each ticker. So I always have how many units I have from a certain stock, and what's the cumulative cost. When I sell, I know how much was the cost per unit and average price and all those things that you see here. Now, I don't want to make this video too long, so I'm not going to go over how you calculate these columns. I actually teach you how to do it in a course that I'm preparing, so check the description. But for now, you can either try to reverse engineer it or just use the template that I leave you in the folder. Going back to Jupyter Notebook, on this cell, we're going to read the last file on the transactions all folder. And we're going to get the file path. We're going to print the last file, and we're gonna create this data frame for all the transactions. Over here you get a list of all tickers. That's my blacklist. Sometimes if you're trying to get prices for tickers that have been delisted, you get some error. So that's my quick way to just blacklist some tickers, and those won't be searched for. So now you have your filtered tickers. Let's see, yeah, 41. So we've traded 41 different stocks. That's how many different stocks I have on my transactions data set. And finally, final filtered. This will be a data frame with obviously just the tickers that we don't want. Okay, next up we have collecting the price history for all tickers. So we're going to collect some price history for your 41 stocks. Okay, we defined some dates. This is needed just to make it easier for you to set up the time ranges, the time frames that you want to search. You can use these variables right here, and you can also use these function, which I got from somewhere online. I don't remember where it was. It was somewhere that I got it, and it's really amazing because it works really fast, and you can get basically the price history for a bunch of tickers very easily. So I'm gonna run it and you'll see. So this is the data reader that we use, and it's querying all the 41 tickers. So once that's done, we can, let me show you how it is right now. So this is what we have. Actually, so you see you're going to have a ticker and all the price history. We started in 2019, which is this start SP. So that's for the SP, and that's for stocks, SP 500. So when we're querying it, you're going to see I'm using the ticker here, and I'll pass the filter tickers, which I didn't show you, but it's just a list of the 41 tickers. Let's remove this, and essentially we pass that list on this function, and it will query each one individually. So that's taken care of. This is what we have, all data. I'm going to clean. This is the function that we defined earlier, and I'm going to save the price history on this folder, outputs, price history, price hist, and this will include a CSV file with each ticker, and you can see that in your Explorer. You should have a bunch of files like this right here. And at this point, if you're new to Python, just make sure you, like when you explore the data, you kind of look into everything and you understand what's behind every variable. So I'm going to show you what's behind. So the tick is a member of the filter tickers. This code right here will just give you a data frame for Zoom in this case, with all the price history when they're open, high, low, and close prices, as well as the close and volume. Okay, now we get to the mega dictionary part. So this is nothing but a fancy name for an important dictionary and data frame. What we do here is we create a dictionary because it's easier to query it with the keys. You're gonna understand what I'm saying. Just try to follow along what this function is doing, but essentially I'm adding a bunch of columns with cumulative units and a cumulative cost, and all these new columns to our data frame, and I'm splitting it by by ticker, and I'm compiling it in a way that we can see the price history as well. So I'm going to put everything together basically. I'm going to run this cell. Okay, and you can see right here it's already loaded, but I'm going to load it again. And it's easy to query the dictionary using this method right here. And you have your stock and the price, and you have the adjusted close and the cash flow, the cumulative units, the cumulative cost, and all these new columns for your ticker, which you didn't have before. So now you have an idea of how this stock performed on your portfolio. And if you want to see what's behind the dictionary itself, so it starts with your first ticker. There's a data frame, and so this one had these rows and the columns. Then you have Tesla, and then you have Apple. So that's just a big dictionary with a lot of data frames. Okay, and now I want to concatenate everything in a huge data frame. And this mega data frame, it looks like this. Whoops. So this data frame has, again, all the data frames. 3M, Tesla, but they are all combined, and you're going to understand why I'm doing this. Just bear with me. So this is just two different ways to see the same things. And I want to save also this file. Actually, I did save it here in mega data frame. And this is how you can read it again, like we read the transactions data set. Just reading the last file on mega folder. Okay, so we do this. I'm just loading the file that I just saved, which is right here. So this way you can just load the previous extraction that you did with all the price history, and you don't need to like do all these steps before. So you can just start from here. Okay, so once you get that done, we're ready to move to our portfolio data frame, and this data frame is what will put everything together, combine all the values in each stock that you have, and basically sum those values and give you an overall picture of your global portfolio. So let me show you how that works. Let me grab this bit right here, and let's see what this is. So I'm using the data frame that we saved and we then loaded again, and I'm using the method, filter method, with the regex value, and the regex is going to search in the column names, and it will give me only the column names that include market value. And if you remember, every time our tickers all had these columns and the market value, well, I didn't tell you, but you can see that the market value is the cumulative units times the adjusted close. So yeah, that's the market value. That's how many units you have at that day and what's the price, what the price was. Okay, cool. So we have all this for all tickers. I'm going to search, I'm going to filter only columns that have market value. So I'm going to get all my stocks, all their market value, and they'll be nicely organized by day. So that makes it easier for me to sum every value in each row. So you kind of see where this is going, and my portfolio values, portfolio all values, is going to be this data frame that I show you. And I'm going to add a new column called portfolio value. and I'm going to sum the axis equals 1. This is just to sum all the values in each column per row. So what do we have? I'm going to run the cell, and we have a new column that actually has our portfolio value. And I also want to quickly get the price, the value for the S&P 500, because I'm going to use it to compare my performance. So that's going to be a nice, addition. So I also need to get the percentage change, and these values, these columns, these variables are all very important for our charts. We're going to want to plot them, and yeah, just make sure you explore and kind of see where this goes. So let's see, what do we end up with? It's right here. So after our market value, I'm still building on this data frame. After all market values, we added our own portfolio value. Let me switch this to tail. So I switched to our, I added our portfolio value, and this is the variation each day, the value each day. This is the S&P 500 market value, so to speak. This is our percentage change in the portfolio and the percentage change on S&P 500. These are just values to use as in our KPIs, in our indicators for our dashboard. Just 7-day performance, 15-day, 30-day, 200-day, absolute and percentage for our portfolio and for S&P 500. Okay, we're getting there, and next up I'm gonna start building the charts. As you can see, we went through the introduction, transactions data set, we collected the price history, we also created a portfolio data set, and we're gonna start building the charts. So first we have the portfolio value, then we're gonna compare portfolio value versus S&P 500. We're gonna build the indicators, and we're gonna build the top 15 distribution. So yeah, let's jump to it. Okay, so we can take care of the imports right now. Let's import everything. Dash and Plotly. We're going to start with Plotly, but let's just import everything like this. And we start over here again with some dates. You can change this. Feel free to change according to your transactions. And then I'm going to build a data frame that I'm going to use for the first chart. It's going to be Plotly df port val. Okay, and this part right here, that's where we build it. And oops, it jumped. So this is what we did right here. This is our data frame. You have some dates and you have some columns. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use that data frame for Plotly. So you take care of this first cell and you get your data frame, and we move on to creating the chart. And here it is. Let's ignore the theme right now. Let's ignore this part. What I want you to focus on is the X of your chart is the date on this data frame. So the date. And the Y is the portfolio value, which is right here. So that's the main thing about this chart. And you can use different options. I left some of them commented. You can try it out for yourself. Let's see if this changes line plus markers. Yeah, it doesn't look that good, at least this far. But it might work if you zoom in, if you use less days. Yeah, you can quickly change it and try different things. Once you take care of this part, you can. This is how Plotly works. So you have the figure. Yeah, I should have said this before. So you build the object, and the object is going to be a figure. I'm using Plotly Go, which we imported here. So that's the graph objects. You can find some documentation in the description. I'm going to leave you a bunch of links there. Make sure you check them out if this is your first time using Plotly. But you have the object here, and then you add stuff to it and you change it. So I'm adding a trace, which is a fancy way to add a chart to my object. And then I'm updating the layout. I'm updating the height, the margins. You can update a bunch of stuff until you show it. And when you show it, it will take care of all these things before and show you whatever you change it to. So I can change the height to just 100. It's not going to look good. Yeah. So actually that's really bad. Well, yeah, this could be like a footer chart or some kind of smaller chart. But yeah, this is very flexible and you can change it as you wish. Make sure you try all the options and you experiment with it. That's how you learn. At least that's how I learn. If you also want to check the theme, let me see. Yeah, this one works. Yeah, I left this cell here, and you have these themes that you can have a look. I use mostly Plotly Dark, Plotly White, ggplot, and Seaborn. That's mostly what I use in my chart. Yeah, I like dark mode. So, and you don't have to do anything. This comes with the Plotly. It's just a regular theme. Okay, let's move on to another chart. Next up, we have the portfolio comparison. I'm going to compare it with the S&P 500. And the way we're going to do this is with the percentage change. And I'm going to compare how much percent they change each day. I was going to do it daily, and let's take care of that. Oh, actually I left this one. Let me change the theme here. The good thing about this is that you can quickly change, well, if you do it like I did. So you have a variable here on the first one, and then you just update the layout on all your charts the same way. You use this variable, and yeah, just need to update it once. And so it's right here. So as you can see, this is kind of difficult to read when you do it daily. So I had to change this to a monthly view. So in order to have a monthly view of this comparison, we're going to need to add some information. And I'm just going to do a bunch of date stuff here. That's going to give me a column called time period. And this is the column I'm going to use to do our chart. Okay, the time period is simply year and month, nothing fancy, and it also adds some nice information here. And let's see. This is the data frame. So time period, portfolio growth, and S&P 500 growth. So now we can compare it, or at least it's gonna look better. And I keep, yeah, okay. As you can see, it's a bit better. This way, it wouldn't be very nice. We're almost there. We're down to our last 3 items. Then we're going to talk about the next steps. But let's start with the indicators. This is our first cell. If you remember, we have 2 sets of indicators, 2 sets of KPIs, and this is our first cell. So this is going to take care of the portfolio indicators for our portfolio performance. And I'm using the variables that we defined earlier, the KPI portfolio. And over here, I'm going to do the same for the S&P 500, which is this one. So in the last 30 days, S&P 500 grew 1.8%, and our portfolio grew 3.2%. So the number below, in case you're wondering, the colored number is the percentage point difference for the S&P 500. So we actually performed better. Okay, so how do you do this? Let's look at the cell here. If you just define a figure, so this is going to be our object, and then I'm going to, well, we're going to take care of the template here, and then we're going to start adding traces like we did before. And I'm going to add 4 traces, which will have our KPIs. So let me look at this one. This is how you build the indicator. So indicator is an object from the Go graph object library, which is a part of, I don't know if I mentioned this before, it's a part of Plotly. This is what Go is. So graph objects, which allows you to build some more advanced objects. This is the page for graph objects. I'm going to leave the link in the description, and you can read more about it, when to use it, what it can do, and you have really cool examples here. Make sure you go to their website. They have a lot of examples to pick from, and you can simply just copy the code. So let's go back to our project. And so you use the indicator, and the indicator object has a lot of options, as you can see. So there's a mode, and you can experiment with it. Again, look at the options for each object. But if I remove the delta on the first one, so I remove the delta on the 7-day, and then you can see what the delta is. Nothing better than just experimenting. So you can play around with this. I'm going to add delta here again, and you can choose how you want to format the numbers. You can choose a title. You can even use some HTML notation. You have a lot of options that you can choose, and of course you have the same for the other ones, and you have the same for the portfolio one, and for the S&P 500. Just a quick note for the S&P 500 indicators, I did add the delta here, even though the delta here doesn't mean anything, because if we're comparing on the portfolio, we're comparing with the S&P 500, but on the S&P 500, we're not comparing with anything. The reason I put delta here is because, let me see if I can show you. If I don't put the delta, the number will be a lot bigger. And let me show you how that would look like. So our dashboard would look like this, and it's personal preference, really. You can change it to, if you want. You can have the S&P 500 numbers a bit bigger, but I want to have the same size for the performance indicators, and then that's why I add the space for the delta. Okay, let me switch this back. Okay. One last chart remaining, which is this one, the top 15 holdings. And for this chart, I'm going to need our top 15 holdings. So I'm going to have to see what's our last position, what's our last cumulative units for each ticker, and what's the price now, the current price, so I can calculate the value. And what we have so far is, I think, is it this one? Final filtered. Okay, and we have, this is our transactions. But what we don't have here is the current price. So I'm going to have to find a way to get the current prices and multiply it by our cumulative units of each stock. So I'm going to use this data frame, but I'm going to calculate the last positions for each ticker. And let's run this cell. Nope. What am I doing? Okay, so this data frame has all the last positions for each ticker that we have. So I think we had 41 traded tickers and we have 2 in our blacklist. So yeah, that's 39 tickers. So from here, we just need some prices so we can multiply and see how much we have of each stock. And I want to share with you another way that you can get the current price for stocks. It's not the most efficient way, but you can get a bunch of other information with this method, which is using again the yfinance package. So let me show you, and then I'll go over the loop. The way you want to use this method is very straightforward. So you have to define a stock, and the way you define it is like this. Let's say Apple, and then you have a dictionary that you can use. Let's see. Okay, so there's your dictionary. There's a lot of keys that you can pick from. You even have a long business summary. That's great. Max age. Well, you have a lot of information, and you have stuff like sector and industry. So that's going to be relevant for our next parts. Not in this tutorial, in future ones. And you can pick whatever you want. So let's see, enterprise to revenue. The way you query it is with brackets, and you just do it like this, and you have your information, the enterprise to revenue ratio, I imagine. Okay, so now that you know how to use this, it's not quick because it has a lot of information every time you query it, but it will do for what we have here. And we just need the regular market price, and we need it for a bunch of tickers. So I'm going to use this for loop, which will get me all the current prices for each stock. And I'm going to leave it running. You can, yeah, so it's going to take care of each price for each stock, and it will append to a list. That's finished. So it's about 2 minutes, which is totally fine for our project. Let's continue. So last positions price, I'm going to add a new column to our last positions data frame, and I'm going to add this list that we just collected, and the current value and the average price. So, and then I'm going to sort by current value, and this is our final data frame, our last positions data frame. And as you can see, you have these 3 new columns over here. And this is the one that we are going to look at. Final figure, our final chart, which is going to be a pie chart with a hole in the middle, or as some may call a donut. And this is just another Go object, a figure. This is the same, updating the template, the same as the other charts, and then adding a trace. And as you can see, I'm adding a pie chart, and I'm going to use our last positions head 15, so our top 15 tickers. for our labels. And for our values, I'm going to use our last positions, top 15, current value. That's very easy. And then I'm updating the trace right here with a hole in the middle. You can change it's a percentage number. So that was awful. This looks better. There's this setting right here where if you hover over the picture, you have some labels pop up. It's a nice feature, but sometimes the letters don't read too well. Finally, we get to our last part. It took us some time, but we got all charts done for our dashboard. So it's time to build it, and we're going to use Jupyter Dash because if you're doing it as I do, we're running Jupyter Notebook, so we're going to need that. The way Dash is going to behave is it will keep our dashboard, which is the app. It will keep it running in a localhost address like this one. So you just have to go there and it will show you the dashboard. So here it is. So we're going to have to start by creating the app object. So it's a Jupyter Dash object, and I'm going to use an external style sheet. And what this is basically a web address for our theme, which is a Bootstrap theme. And if you don't know what Bootstrap is, it's a CSS framework developed to create websites. So it's very easy to use, and they have a bunch of free themes that you can choose from. So let's see, I have this, I'm going to share the link in the description, but this is really cool. You can search the theme that you want. So this is going to be the default, and the page will update so you can see what the theme is like. So you can just change the name in our cell. Let me switch to a dark theme. Let's say Cyborg. So you can change the cell right here to Cyborg, and it will create the dashboard with that theme. Now that doesn't look very good, but I just wanted to show you how easy it is to change themes in this way. We're going to keep this as flatly because it's nicer that way. If you want a darker theme, you might want to consider and change the charts to a darker theme as well. Just keep that in mind. And let's see the rest of the code. So we create an app object, and the app needs a layout, and the layout that I want you to keep in mind, I added this in the article, but this is our app divided by columns and rows. So it's a big container, and it has 3 rows in green, and you have the first row, there's only 1 column, it's the header. The second row is 3 columns, the chart, and 2 columns for the indicators. And the third row, there's 2 columns here. So if you look at the code, you have 3 rows, 1, 2, 3. And our first row only has a header, which is this HTML component. Our second row has 1 column, 2 columns, and 3 columns. And our third row, obviously, 2 columns as well. Okay, so this is important for you to kind of see what's this all about. What is this related to? And I also added the comments here, which I think make it easier. So you can immediately see, oh, okay, this is the third column on the second row. So you know that if you're going to mess with it, you're going to change this indicator object right here. So let's see. I'm going to change the height just for this one. I'm going to change it for 800. And I'm going to run the dashboard again. I'm going to refresh the page, and you can see that the object changed. So it's very easy to adjust, and you can simply just refresh the page and your dashboard is updated. But that doesn't look good, so let's switch back. When you're starting out, there's a bunch of stuff you wish someone told you before. This might be one of those. So the rows always come before the columns. Keep that in mind. Also, inside the rows and columns, you're going to have other components, which can be HTML components or dash core components. And you can have a mixture of them in the same column, like this one. I have a header and I have the graph. And if you look at the dashboard, there's the header right here, and this is the object, the graph. Now, one of the trickiest things about Dash is the layout and getting the layout really straight with the charts and everything. So it's very important that you keep the charts on the same row with the same height. If you notice, the three of them are with the same height. But also you have to keep in mind that every row in Dash, the total width of your row shouldn't be more than 12. Otherwise, it will go to a second line. So this is why my chart here for the portfolio has a width of 8, and then I use 2 for my other 2 charts, graphs. So this is 12, and that's how the dashboard is split. So you have 8 columns here, then you have 2, and then you have 2. It's very important that you remember each row has 12 spaces. And in case you're wondering, if I do this, you see this chart now has 4 columns, and this one has 2, and everything is down 1 row essentially. And the final thing about this graph object, you probably noticed it. This is our Plotly objects. So we created all those objects so we could insert them in this section right here. And we have all of them, the figure growth, the donut right here, and about the other components that you might see. If you know a thing or two about HTML, you know that this is a header, header 2. This is a header 5, so which is just a bit smaller. What's more, I think that's it. Yeah, just a bunch of headers and graphs and columns and some rows. So that's about it. That's how you can organize your template. Then you can play around with the height, you can play around with the theme. There's a bunch of stuff that you can edit, and I'm not going to go over all these the class names. That's for a different tutorial, where we're going to turn this into a more responsive dashboard. I like to organize everything in one cell because it's just easier to update things and then run it. And this is what you should have in the last few lines, because it will make sure that the Dash app is running. So every time you change something, you just run the cell and the dashboard should be updated. You can refresh the page that you were at. Well, it's not going to change anything now, but you can just run it and see how it's doing and just update it. Once you finish, you should probably close the server, so to speak, and the command to do that is to terminate server for port, so you don't have the port open. When you run this cell, your dashboard will stop running, and if you refresh the page, you don't have dashboard anymore. So you can just run the cell again, and when you want to close, just close it. I feel like I covered most of the code, and this video is getting way longer than I anticipated, but I hope you find it useful. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to play around with your charts. You can do a bunch of cool stuff with Plotly. And of course, don't forget the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. I really want to do more of these videos, maybe some also about cryptocurrencies. But yeah, that kind of motivation is much appreciated. Also, there's a link in the description for my course. If you're interested in a more detailed Plotly and Dash project, feel free to adapt this template to your projects as well. And yeah, thanks for watching.